Hi friends, today we are going to talk about complex carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, whole grain, and glycemic index. I will be touching topic of high blood sugar and hyperactivity. I will tell you a few words about when people get tired or why people get tired because of low blood sugar. At the end, I will cover effect of high or low sugar overall on our organs because Joanna asked me. May I assume that you know about glycemic index at this point, foods that belong to low, medium, and high glycemic index. So let's proceed. The definition of glycemic index is essential, important to understand. It is when we eat food, how fast blood sugar get absorbed and will raise the level of blood glucose level. In order to talk about glycemic index, we need to talk about food as simple and complex carbohydrates. And then I will talk about factors that will either slow down absorption of that sugar from the digestive tract or will speed it up. I will talk about fat, protein, fibers, mechanical, and heat-treated food because it's important that all of these factors may convert food, let's say, from medium glycemic index to high glycemic index food or vice versa. So let's go to the blackboard and talk more about that. As always, I already pre-draw my favorite picture of the digestive tract. This is the mouth with the teeth, esophagus. This is the stomach, small intestine, large intestine. This red is our bloodstream. Let's start with the point number one, food, simple and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates under the microscope looks like piece of sugar connected to piece of sugar connected to piece of sugar. When this simple carbohydrates get into our digestive tract in the small intestine, those connections, I will draw it here, connection between two sugars get broken in no time by the digestive enzymes. And immediately, these individual pieces of sugar get absorbed into the bloodstream. Because there are so few connections and they are fast broken, result of this, when we eat simple carbohydrates, concentration of the sugar in the bloodstream will go up. On the other hand, complex carbohydrates looks a little bit different. This is pieces of sugar, and every single piece of sugar connected to many different pieces of sugar. So this one and this connected to that and this one and so on. From the point of view of our digestive tract, there is no difference, absolutely none, between this piece of sugar in simple carbohydrate and this piece of sugar in complex carbohydrates. But the difference between simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates is number of connections. In order to release this piece of sugar and absorb and deliver this piece of sugar into the bloodstream, it takes a lot of connections to break down. So to get to this piece of sugar, body needs to break this and this and this, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe even 8 connections. It takes time. So let's think about then the simple and complex carbohydrates and the sugar in general, the way I think mathematically. If this is time, and this is the concentration of the sugar in the blood. When we eat simple carbohydrates, these two connections broken in the no time. Let's say you get up and your blood sugar is 99. You eat breakfast of simple carbohydrates, bread, pizza, pasta, soft drinks, juices, cookies, candies. So all of that is an example of simple carbohydrates. They get immediately absorbed and sugar concentration of the sugar in the bloodstream goes high. That's what by definition, glycemic in food high of glycemic index. Simple carbohydrates, high glycemic index because it will raise the blood sugar immediately. Concentration of the sugar in the blood become high, cannot be tolerated. Immediately at this point, we start to produce insulin. In the purpose of the insulin in our body to combine with the sugar and put inside of the cell. Also, when the sugar is high, it can go in different directions. It have to go into the storage, into the liver. It can go in the fat tissues. That's why people who eat simple carbohydrate meals tend to have a higher body mass. It will get attached to different cells in our body, such as red blood cells, and we measure level of blood sugar by hemoglobin A1C. It will get attached to white blood cells and will interfere with the work of those cells. Even if the sugar persists to be that high in the blood and go in different directions, still high, then the sugar will go into the kidney and we will start to see sugar as diabetes type 2. Now, insulin gets produced, sugar drops. When the sugar drops below 70, this is the time when the body get involved. Body cannot tolerate that low blood sugar. Brain have to have sugar to function. Red blood cells have to have a sugar to function. When the sugar is falling, the red signal and the bell is going in our body. The sugar is dropping. The defense mechanism kicks in. Epinephrine and norepinephrine get produced. A result of which we become shaky. Blood pressure can go up. Heart rate will go up. And by that time, also we stop producing insulin. Insulin is totally shut, and we start to produce glucagon, which will release sugar from the storage from the liver. We are quite shaky here. We need to eat something. What do I grab? Piece of cookie, candy, piece of bread. Simple carbohydrates, sugar goes up. Insulin kicks in here, sugar drops. All of that happened in about 1 hour, 30 minutes. Okay, this is a high glycemic food. Complex carbohydrates takes time to break them down. As a result, complex carbohydrates never behave like simple carbohydrates. Sugar never goes that up and never goes that down because the number of the connections that needs to be broken. That's clear. Now let's talk about factor number 2. How different factors such as fat and protein, for example, will slow down the absorption of food, of sugar. When we put sugar, simple carbohydrates or complex, let's talk about simple carbohydrates with the protein, we put that type of the food. Good example of that, stew with potato and meat. Usually pork, meat, or beef, or could be fish stew, also have fat. So protein, when it drops in here, let's say this is the piece of protein, and this is at the end of the stomach is a valve called pylorus. Protein takes time to break down. It's get digested by hydrochloric acid, takes time. Small pieces of protein get broken, pylorus get open. This small piece of protein together with the simple carbohydrates with small amount, because it's open for a short period of time because protein is not digested. It's moved out of here, valve gets shut again, and small piece of protein and simple carbohydrates, little carbohydrates end up here. As a result, though it is a simple carbohydrates, but not enough of them, the sugar just cannot go that high. So the next piece of protein get broken down, the next portion, small portion goes out of. So protein slows down the digestion and absorption of sugar. The fat also decrease motility of the digestive tract. As a result, everything is slowed down, including absorption of the sugar. Okay, clear? So as a result, such a meal with simple with potato, which is high glycemic index food, is not going to raise your blood sugar that much because of protein and fat in that meal. Now we are going to move into fibers. We are talking about fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables have a lot of sugar. Fortunately, this sugar sits among those fibers. Our digestive system does not have means to break these fibers totally and completely. So when you put a piece of apple into your digestive tract, these fibers cannot be broken down. As a result, that sugar cannot be released. As a result, a lot of that sugar together with the fibers will basically get lost through the digestive tract and not get absorbed. However, and by the way, apple will belong, usually most of the apples will belong into category of medium glycemic index. However, you can convert this piece of apple into high glycemic food. How? By juicing it. So what you do in the process of juicing, you put water or juice from the apple. This is the glass. Okay, you put it here. This is your juice with the sugar. Yes, I hear you. Vitamins, minerals, they all move here. That's good stuff. Okay. However, fibers moving in a different direction. Here is your fibers. They are here. When you drink this juice high of sugar from the apple, this juice will act exactly like a Coca-Cola. Sugar will go up and then sugar will drop. Okay, that's why it's important to eat whole apple, to eat whole orange, eat your piece of carrot, but not juice. Now, I want to touch base on the temperature and mechanical breaking down the food. This complex carbohydrates, the whole grain, let's say it's still cut oats, right? You can convert the still cut oats into high glycemic index. How? Breaking down this first mechanically. So you convert, you make a flour out of that. As you break down those connections, you start to release that sugars, right? And then out of this whole wheat flour, you bake a bread. Remind me, please, the temperature of baking bread, I think it's about 400 Fahrenheit, right? I'm not sure, but it's high, okay? At this high temperature, what you do, you keep breaking these connections and you release those sugars. When you get this bread out of the oven, the crust is the most delicious thing because crust is a reaction of caramelization. All of these sugars get caramelized. You basically form a candy right there on the top of, because the connections are broken, and that's what is so delicious, right? So you converted whole grain into simple carbohydrate food that was at a low glycemic index as a still cut oats into high glycemic index. From the point of view of sugar, whole wheat bread will behave exactly like white bread. Sugar will go up and then sugar will go down. Okay. Yes, I hear you. You were telling me it has more fibers, it has more vitamins, and probably have minerals. We are talking about sugar. Now, I want just to say few words. I'm sorry. I just want to say a few words on the topic effect of high and low sugar, that those spikes go up and go down. Many organs in our body get affected. Let me give you a parallel example. It's like like a car in stop and go traffic. So when you stop, you put on brake, you put pressure on the brakes. Then wear and tear of switching gears. Then you use more gas. And I'm sure mechanics will know that the more wear and tear of the engine of the car. So the same happened to our body. When the sugar goes up, then sugar goes down. So it's a good idea to understand about glycemic index and eat whole grain foods and, as least processed foods as possible. Now, I am done, but I want to say just a couple of words to thank you, my subscribers and people who post. Do not think that I forgot about you. I have this book where I write what questions you are asking, and I will make future presentations, because I numbered them, and some of them you can see there's already done, and some of them done here. And but people ask about marshmallow root and acid reflux, Sheldon about cholesterol. One of the subscribers asked, and I promised to talk about that, acid reflux and depression and a low energy differential diagnosis. So I will do that. It's all here. I just decided to do this topic on complex carbohydrates because I realized several times per day, people ask this question, and I just need to give you explanation. So I hope that's clear. Thank you very much. If you have more questions, ask them right here. Subscribe, and all relative information about me is in the description below. Bye-bye for now.